Hey, what's up guys? Before we get into today's video between Nate Diaz versus Jorge Masvidal, I was watching a clip and this guy was saying it's a highway robbery. As a combat fan of 20 years, watching Lennox Lewis, Mike Tyson, Floyd Mayweather, Anderson the Spider Silva, Rich Franklin, Tank Abbott, you're talking about Kimbo Slice, Nate Diaz, Nick Diaz. The list goes on of who I've watched over the last 20 years compete in the octagon, in some sort of mixed martial arts, combat sports, jiu-jitsu, you name it, I've watched it. So, roll the intro, and this is just my opinion on what I thought happened during the fight. He's just going to get his ass whooped. Everybody was saying that Nate Diaz isn't the boxer that he said he was. He's decent boxing in MMA, but he's not a real skilled boxer in professional boxing. And people said for a long time, oh yeah, he's trained with the high level boxers, but how come he couldn't do nothing against Jake Paul? And he wasn't throwing a lot in the Jake Paul fight, right? Which is true, he didn't throw a massive amount of volume in the Jake Paul fight. He said he was injured, but I definitely think in this fight, he had a lot to prove. He wanted to show, hey, Masvidal, you didn't actually beat me because the doctor stopped it in the MMA fight. I was starting to come on in the end of the third round onto the fourth and fifth, and I could have won that fight. So in this, he came out with a lot of volume punches, while Jorge came out with the game plan of guns blazing. I'm going to throw a lot of heavy power strikes and knock you out. That didn't happen. Nate Diaz controlled the fight for the most part, landing more volume and less power. And a lot of people go, he's not landing a lot of power, because that's not his game. He doesn't never land a lot of significant power shots in MMA or boxing. He lands more pitter-patter punches, which it's better to land probably 300 to 400 pitter-patter punches, because you're racking up the scorecard while you're landing. You're just constantly landing. And Jorge was landing some power punches. But at the end of the day, I can see three scenarios where people say, well, it was a draw. It was very close. It was a draw. That's how it should have been. I can see where people say, nah, Masvidal beat him because he landed all those significantly heavy power punches. Obviously, he won the fight. And then I can see where the Nate Diaz fan would go, come on, dog. Nate Diaz landed how many more punches? And he was constantly throwing. And there was points in the fight where Masvidal, I think it was in the 7th or 8th round, he basically held back and got beat on for about 2.5 minutes until he came out and started throwing some power punches. Nate Diaz obviously won. But did the fans win? Yes, the fans actually won. Watching the fight, I thought it was a great fight. I think it was one of those fights that you watch and you're like, I wasn't disappointed. It wasn't like this one-sided ass whooping or this weird, awkward, like Anderson Silva versus Chael Sonnen fight. That was weird, right? It wasn't one of these weird fights. It wasn't like YouTuber versus YouTuber weird fight. It was actually two skilled boxers actually throwing down and throwing from the start to the finish. A lot of times in boxing, professional boxers don't be throwing 1,200 punches combined. But again, I thought the fight was great. I can see why somebody would say who they thought won. But at the end of the day, I was highly entertained. I think Nate did a great job. I personally thought Nate won, but I can see why somebody would say Nate did lose. But at the end of the day, I think Nate should keep competing in boxing. He wants to run it back with Jake Paul, which I think would be a great opportunity for both of them to fight again. I also think it would be great for Nate to get a big opponent, the biggest opponent he can in boxing, and see what he can do with a decently leveled, skilled boxer. So with that being said, guys, let me know what you guys think in the comment section below, and I will see you guys next time. But Nate Diaz, he proved to the world that, hey, I am actually a skilled boxer, and these are the skills that I bring to the table. Maybe he's not a fast fighter, maybe he doesn't have crazy foot movement, but the dude can throw, and the dude can throw high levels of volume. So with that being said, let me know what you guys think in the comments. Do you think Nate Diaz won? Do you think he should fight Jake Paul again? Or do you think Jorge actually stole the fight with his power punching? And also, do you guys think, nah, dog, it was a draw all along? That's what it was. It was a straight draw, and none of them won. So as always, it's your boy Trevor, back with another one, baby. Just giving you my opinion, and I'll tell you again, this video is just me breaking the fight down and giving you my opinion as a fan of combat sports since about 2000. I've been a fan for almost 20 years. But don't take my word for it, because there's always like Luke Thomas, Morning Combat, the Weighing In podcast, Joe Rogan, all these other people that might give you a better opinion than mine. But this is just my opinion as a fan and what I watched. So take it as a grain of salt. Let's roll the intro and let's get into today's Nate Diaz versus